Good morning. Hi. Let's see. I'm just gonna adjust this camera a little bit. There. No, cross your fingers, it stays. How are you this morning? I hope we get a few people on to chat. Last week was fantastic. There was quite a few people on. How are you doing with daylight savings time? There's been a lot of chatter on the internet. It's funny, isn't it? I mean, it's 1 hour. It's on a weekend. It's not so bad. But I think the spring forward is a little tougher than the fall back, where we get an extra hour. Losing that hour can sometimes throw off quite a few things. Not so much in my household, but I would imagine those lovelies. Good morning, Kimberly. So good to see you, sweetheart. I bet your house was a little thrown off this morning with the daylight savings time. Kids do like to have their schedules, don't they? It's, hopefully it's something that resolves itself really quickly with another good night's sleep, right? So, last week I issued you a challenge to write, was it 5 things? 5 things or 10 things, I can't remember. But at least 5 for sure, in a gratitude journal that you were grateful for each and every day. And if you did that, I would love to hear how it went, what was good, what was difficult, what maybe it started out really well and it petered off, which happens quite a bit. Oh, you're so smart. Kimberly, go to bed early. That's right. Just go to bed early. That makes up for that hour. So let me know if you did the challenge or if you didn't, because it's interesting. As an educator, a teacher, we're very much in the mode of what you did and how to evaluate it. But as a coach, it's also really fascinating to dig into what you didn't do and why you didn't do it, because I think there's a lot more to uncover there, right? I mean, and it's the old thing, right? If you do everything and you're only doing things that are easy for you, and you don't really stretch, you're not growing. You're stagnated. You're living okay. And who wants okay, right? We want bold, we want exciting, we want growth, we want movement in our lives. Otherwise, right, what's the point? So I'm just curious if you don't mind sharing. No, you don't have to do it in this thread. Maybe I'll start a different thread in the group so that we can talk about it. And if you didn't get a chance to watch the video last week, I really recommend that you did. There was a lot of great positive feedback. Oh my goodness. Need coffee. And there was a really great challenge that could really propel things in a different way. So this morning, I want to sort of continue that conversation. And to do so, I'm going to tell you a little story. That's right. It's story time. Okay, so, and hang in there with me. It may not make a lot of sense at first, but I'm going to tie it all together. Oh, Kimberly, good for you, sweetheart. You did do it. Oh, of course, you do it every day. You know about this gratitude business. But I would love for you to share your experience in the group so others could learn from it, because I know that you know about this quite a bit. So, story time. Back when I was younger, and it's hard for me to say that without grinning because I'm so used to like 6-year-olds saying back when I was younger. I'm like, yesterday. But back when I was younger, probably about, I would say somewhere between 8, 9 years old. It was the holiday, it was Christmas time. And we were at, I'm trying to say this so that I don't identify people. We were at some cousin's house celebrating the Christmas dinner. And my grandmother came. Now, my grandmother didn't have a lot of money, but she always managed to get the coolest gifts, and she was super crafty. And that year, she made pretty much everyone either a hat and scarf and mittens if you were a kid, or just a hat and scarf, and except for my dad, whom she made socks. They had a thing about it. I don't know. Anyway, my cousins were much younger than I were. So they were probably about 3 and 4. And when they opened their gift, they just threw the biggest fit because it wasn't a toy that they wanted. Now, granted, they're very young, right? And I remember this very clearly because, I mean, just to preface this, my grandmother is and probably will always be my favorite person in the world. And I could see the look on her face. You know, she was kind of disappointed. And at the same time, she's a grown-up, so she understood. But it was interesting. I mean, when I say they pitched a fit, I mean, they pitched a fit. Yelling, crying, throwing it on the ground. You know, their parents dealt with it appropriately, I think. But granted, again, they were kids. Now, here's the thing. And probably the reason I remember this is because it had to do with my grandmother. I remember watching this and thinking, holy crap. Like, wow. And because we spent a lot of time with them at that time, I also remember them wearing it because it was a really cold winter that year. It was the year, now, again, I was a kid, so, but the snowbanks were higher than I was as I walked down the street, and that doesn't happen a lot. I grew up in Southern Ontario. That doesn't happen a lot, but it does occasionally happen where the snow doesn't, melt enough and it piles up. And so you'd be walking to school on the sidewalk, and then there'd be snowbank, and it was bitterly cold. And I remember that year because I remember, I had snark back then too, saying to my cousin, well, I guess you're glad you got those gifts now because they were wearing the nice, cozy, warm hats and gloves and scarves. And the reason I say this story to you is, I mean, who can relate, first of all? Who can relate? Yeah, of course. I mean, we're people, we're humans. We sometimes pitch a fit when we don't get what we want. Right? It happens. We all do it. Some of us better than others. But here's the thing, and I'm going to connect this to the universe right now. The universe does this to us as well. The universe sometimes gives us things and we pitch a fit because it's not what we wanted, not what we were expecting, not what we asked for. Right? But in my experience, it always ends up being exactly what we needed. And it might be a redirection. It might be a no. It might, you know what I mean? Like it can very well be later on. We always see it. We always see it if we take time to reflect. Oh, I know, right? You can totally see it. We look back and we think, yeah, there were signs. There was redirection. And when you insist on persisting, that's when you get the universal whispers, the nudges, sometimes the shoves, and then the full-on universe, hits you with that universal, with the metaphysical 2x4. And, it always is. Kimberly, sweetheart, it always is. It's always there if we take time to look. The problem is a lot of us don't take time to look. We pitch a fit and we complain that the universe isn't reacting. It's not coming through for us, when in fact, it really is. It's coming through for us in ways that we don't understand. And depending on your belief system, you might look at this as, God's unanswered prayers. You might look at it as your guides protecting you. You might look at it as a soul contract that needs to be fulfilled. And it really, these are just different labels for the same thing, right? It's that universal energy that knows what you need to be doing. Then there's that whole free will part where we screw it up quite often or we delay it, right? Because we think we know more and we think we understand enough. And what we should be doing, and I'm not a big fan of the should, but I think in this case it does apply. Exactly, Kimberly. It does happen for a reason. And sometimes it's not a redirection, right? Sometimes it's a lesson that we needed to learn in order to get to where we need to be or want to be. And without that lesson, we're not going to recognize things. And I think when I do my workshops, there's an example that I give. And it's, imagine that you're standing on the edge of a river, okay? And you really desperately want to get to the other side for whatever reason. Whatever it is that you want in your life, you know, be it a house, a relationship, new understanding of how the world is, just personal growth. I mean, right now, more coffee. Whatever it is that you really, really want and desire and crave. That, you know, that really deep down core desire, whatever it is on the other side. And you've got to figure out how to get there. And so you ask, you know, if you're Christian, you might pray. If you're maybe Buddhist, you might meditate on it. Ask for an answer from the universe, whatever it is. You know, ask your guides. And here's the thing. If you picture that, how do you often cross a river with rapids that's too dangerous to cross? You either got to build a bridge, which means you've got to figure out how to build a bridge. You've got to learn some things, and you've got to spend the time and the effort doing the things to get you to the other side, right? Or get you even the ability to get to the other side. Or sometimes you have to go sideways for a little while and find a place you can ford across that's shallower, wider, less deep, right? Or sometimes, and if you're, I used to do a lot of hiking, believe me on this, trust me, sometimes you have to go backwards and realize you screwed up. You took the wrong side of the, you know, at some fork or some area, you went the wrong way, and this way is a dead end. Well, I can stand there on the edge of that bank and I can, you know, pitch a fit, and I can yell about how, you know, the universe isn't providing, that I'm not getting my prayers answered, that nobody's listening. I can do that, or I can just recognize that I need to do something else, something different. And I can backtrack, find where I screwed up. I didn't read the map, I didn't look for the signposts, and I can go a different direction, then come back to that river and find a place that I can cross and get to what I desire. And you know what? Yeah, sometimes it sucks. It's a lot of work. But you know what? Either I needed to learn how to build that bridge, because maybe later on I'm going to need that again anyway in a much more important situation. Or I needed to just go sideways and find a safer place to cross that was good for me. Or I needed to back the hell up and go a completely different way. And either way, I have choice, but that does not mean that nobody's listening. The way is provided. I mean, one of my favorite sayings, everything is figure-outable. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy or fun, right? But looking back, it's always there. It's always there. Once you get over yourself a little bit, get over your pride, get over your belief that everything should be easy, or there is a belief, I think, and I think it's just part of the process, that when you start on a spiritual path or a path of personal growth, it doesn't necessarily have to be a spiritual one, though I think it always kind of ends up being one. We think that once we get on that path, it's going to be smooth sailing, right? That things are going to ease for us. And in some ways they do, because we learn how better to manage setbacks. We learn about the river, right? And we know that when we get to a certain point and we can't see it, that there's other ways. There's other ways to get, it might take longer, it might take some lessons, it may take a whole boatload of effort, but we can always get what we need and what we want if we're willing to put the time and effort into it. The important thing and how those two things connect is the pitching a fit and saying no one's listening, because they are, and there's always something that we can do to move ourselves forward. And just to make it more interesting, I can connect that back to last week's discussion where we talked about gratitude. Gratitude will get you out of that feeling of needing to pitch a fit, of needing to yell and cry and be upset, because and it does sometimes feel like that, like, holy crap, what did I do? Who did I piss off, right? But I promise you, in my experience, every redirection, every time someone says, no, you've got to back up and go a completely different way. This is not for you. This is not the place for you to cross that river. Or just, nudge you a little bit. Just go, go a little bit down the banks and you'll find maybe someone's already built a bridge. Right? Could you imagine? You standing here, and finally you decide, what the hell? I'm just going to follow that then. And, 30 feet down the riverbank and around a corner, there's a bridge built for you. It's there. But the stubbornness of, nope, this is the way I've decided I need it to be. This is the way it should be. I want it this way. The how is always up for grabs. The where and the what that you desire, and I'm not talking coffee, although some days I am. I'm talking those deep down desires. The how is always there. It just may not look like what you thought it would. And that's okay. There's brilliance in that, because that means you're not stuck waiting for the river to dry up, because that may not happen, right? That means that you can go and find alternative routes, and you'll get there, right? Every river is crossable. We've proven that, right? Yes. Oh, Kimberly. Mwah. I love you. There is something better ahead. There always is. Always. Always, always, always. And I'm so glad you're seeing that. Yeah, and it does take time, especially when there's grief involved, right? There's pain involved. Because sometimes, like I said, you've got to back the hell up. And that, pardon my language, you guys, if it offends you, I'm sorry, but sometimes it's a real piss off. Because you've worked hard, and you've held on, and you've white knuckled it, and you've worked and worked and worked, and you've put so much into it of yourself, right? But you weren't seeing the signs of letting go. And sometimes, you're like, I'm so invested. Well, here's the thing. You can keep investing in standing on that river edge, pissed off that you're not getting what you want, or you can take a deep breath and go, yep, I put a lot into that, and it didn't work. What can I learn from it? Now I'm backing up, and I'm going a different way. And I've got these lessons, and I've got this experience, and I've got this growth. And yes, it sucks. And sometimes, you've got to walk back through some serious stuff. But most likely, you're never going to walk that path again. You're going to recognize it, right? You've learned from it. And that, like you said, sweetheart, maybe that's just a journey. That's a journey you needed to take as part of your soul contract. And I know that's my personal belief, but I think that that's true for a lot of us. So I would challenge you all to continue your gratitude. And in your journal, at least once over the next week, I would also challenge you to think about a time when you didn't get what you wanted and you had a really hard time, right? You pitched a fit. And it could have been that quiet fit in your head where you just like, WTF is going on? Why can I not get this going? Or it could have been like a full breakdown. I can admit I've had moments where I've literally sat on the ground and bawled like a baby because I just didn't get it. And I was frustrated, and I was hurt, and I was angry, and I think that's okay too. It's part of being human. It's part of being emotionally connected, and it's cathartic. I think tears are very cathartic. And I grew up in the don't cry, believe me, the don't cry family, and the I'll give you something to cry about family. And I didn't understand it as a kid, and I don't understand it now. If I'm crying, I'm good. I already have something to cry about. And I think that we got really disconnected from our deeper, heavier emotions. And those are just as important. They're information, right? And they're ways to move through it. And I love, and I don't know if I'm sure I have mentioned it to you before because I'm fascinated by it. But science is starting to catch up to us. And they actually, someone did a study where they took tears, different types of tears, and put them under a microscope. So tears of anger, tears of grief, tears of joy, and I'm not sure what the third, maybe tears of pain, like physical pain. and they were so completely different. They were like snowflakes, actually. It was they were really beautiful. And the different compositions and chemical makeup of the tears was like completely different. So it is also a physical way for us to release those chemicals that are detrimental to us when we're feeling those emotions. Right? When you're feeling grief, you have really heavy catabolic emotions, and you have different chemicals that are being released into your body that are not necessarily good for us in a long term, right? Probably not that great even in a short term, but we can get them out of our body through tears. That is one of the best ways. So please never tell your children or yourself not to cry. It's good for us. It's part of our human experience. Okay? So that's your challenge for this week. To think about where it is in your life. Maybe right now you're struggling, being grateful for being redirected or just full on stopped. And I mean, it's interesting that we're so fascinated by stories about people being thwarted by the universe or guides or whoever. If you read, terrible tragedies, airplane crashes and the 9/11 towers, people who said, normally they would be there. They would have been there, but weird stuff happened to keep them from going. That's a full stop. That's a this is not for you. Right? And that happens to us on a daily basis too. I'm sure of it. We just don't know. Right? We can't possibly know that if, we forgot our keys and had to go back up. Like for me, and go back up to the apartment, get the car keys and come back down or whatever it was, that if I had left originally on time, I would have, been struck by another car turning the corner. You can't possibly know that. But I can't possibly know that I wouldn't have either. I think that happens to us on a daily basis. And I think the more we get connected to ourselves and to our instincts and to our belief system and understand what's happening within, the more we're going to raise our awareness and be able to use those things to help direct us and get rid of the problem of getting all the way to the riverbank and standing there going, well, this is lovely. I spent, days trekking through the forest, killing myself to get here, and I can't cross, right? There'll be signs. There'll be ways for us to understand what's happening, and we'll be able to redirect ourselves better. Feel through the feelings. That's right. That is exactly it. The only way through your feelings is through them. So, I have a little thing I want to share with you. I know many of us in this group are also interested in the healing properties of crystals and essential oils, and quite a few of you have been asking me to share more of that because I do that. I use those in my regular life, and I'm a firm believer that that sort of healing helped me enormously to get back to being reasonably healthy. And so I want to share with you one of my absolute, I cannot live without crystals, and it's selenite. And so here is a piece of selenite that I carry with me all the time, pretty much. I have it on a cord, as you can see, so I can actually wear it and keep it next to my skin, or I keep it in my pocket. So this one, I'm trying to catch it in the light. It's so gorgeous. So selenite, as you can see, this is actually a pretty good sized piece to be wearing, but you can get smaller pieces. And it comes in a lot of different ways, and you can actually get it carved. So this is a piece that I use. Selenite is often called the happy stone. Different crystals. Can you see that? Isn't that gorgeous? I use this one to cleanse other stones. So you can see it's almost translucent. And I put other stones on top of it. Selenite is said to absorb and transmute any negative energy. And it doesn't hold it. It changes it. It transmutes it into a positive. It's one of the highest vibrational stones. As you can see, I love holding it. I love the feeling of it. Isn't it beautiful? And then I also use it when I do ritual and when I open a circle and when I do groups to open a safe container. And I use it, is it like a wand? So I use it to invoke. And if you're interested, then someday I will absolutely do that for this group as well. But this is the one that I use. You see this? I'll do it this way. So this has got some Celtic symbols put on it. This is the Owen, and this is Bridget, and the trifecta. So these are just the flow of inspiration and the connection, right? So these have deep meaning for me personally. But I use this to open safe space and containers and to release energy. So selenite, however, it's interesting. When I work with people who haven't used crystals, they love selenite. You can hold it. I've used it in my classrooms as, I'm sure, like a talking stick, so we pass it around and whoever's got it. And you can watch the children. Children know, they always know. They hold it with their hands and they hold it close to their chest, to their heart. They love it. And they don't do that with everything, right? And I've had random children come up and ask, can I just hold it? Of course you can, right? It's like relaxation in a crystal. Meditation with selenite, I find, is like a deeper and more quickly into meditation. Does anyone here use pieces of selenite when they meditate? I'm just curious. So I don't know, I just wanted to share this one with you. You can see, doesn't it glow? Oh, I love it. I love it. But it just, it takes everything that's negative and heavy and it changes it into a higher, more beautiful vibration. So if you are looking to start working with crystals, this is my recommendation. This is my first recommendation, and I will post, I'll post a link in our group to a place where you can get high quality and good energy crystals, but also especially selenite. It's I mean, like what I will do. So this is my piece of bloodstone that I carry with me. Excuse me. And you'll probably see me rubbing it quite often. It's a healing stone. And I will take it and I will put it just on top of the selenite. And that just helps release any negative energy that this crystal, this stone, has absorbed throughout the day or the week that I've had it with me. And that's it. That's all you have to do. This is pure magic. This is earth magic right here. Oh, right. Oh, Kimberly, good for you. Beautiful. And do you use it to clear your other crystals as well? Now, don't ever get selenite wet, right? I'm sure you probably know that. It will melt away. So that is my sharing with you today. And if you enjoy that, I'll do more of that. And I'd be happy to do some more specific just lives purely about crystals or essential oils as well. And I will, yes, absolutely no wet. That's right, Kimberly. So if you don't have selenite, I highly recommend it. I love to have some, and in fact, I do have another piece similar to this, but shaped as a heart on my nightstand table. Excuse me for a second. I'm losing my voice. That's fun. I recommend having it by your doorway. So as people come in or out, it just sort of absorbs any negative energy that might be coming with them. And, well, really, you know, you could have it everywhere and anywhere. It only raises the vibration. Now put this next to a piece of quartz, clear quartz crystal. Now you've got some serious magic happening. Meanwhile, you got your challenge for the week. Let me know how last week went. Don't be shy about saying, yeah, you know, I did it one day and then it sort of, you know, because that's just part of the process of figuring it out. And enjoy the rest of your beautiful Sunday. And remember, this week, there's nothing it can throw at you that you can't handle. Okay? Mwah. Have a wonderful day and week. Bye-bye.